I do a lot of videos on IT, cybersecurity, education, and career things, but today's video is going to be the ultimate guide on how to get into cybersecurity. That is, like how to break into the field and start working in cybersecurity. The format of this video is going to contain a step-by-step curated list of things that you can do that will increase your chances of being able to break in the field. Some of the steps will have multiple tiers in them. Like, for example, you should do A at the bare minimum to increase your chances, or B to have a slightly better chance, or you should do C to totally max out your chance in this particular area. And the idea is the more things that you do in this checklist or this framework, and the better you do them, the higher your chances are that you're going to be able to find a job and ultimately get hired and enter the field. So if you're interested in getting into cyber, go ahead and smash the like button, consider subscribing, and let's get started. So the very first step in this checklist is to kind of get in tune with the cybersecurity world and then kind of maintain this until you get a job, and then ideally afterwards, like throughout your career. And how I do this, I personally recommend using podcasts and Twitter. So as far as podcasts go, I would kind of recommend two particular podcasts that you should subscribe to and kind of listen to. The first one is just being like basic news podcast, which is the Cyberwire. It's like a really highly produced, well-organized team of people. The main guy's name is Dave Bittner, and they do it's called the Cyberwire Daily, and they do daily news about cybersecurity events that happen all over the world. And it's really good to listen to this because it kind of will get you in tune with the world of cybersecurity. And the more you listen to it, it's kind of like hanging around security people all day because you're using a lot of security and industry jargon and talking about all these different things like APTs and TTPs and IOCs and all these kind of strange security words. And they talk about all kinds of news and stuff that's happening around the world. And it kind of subconsciously will improve your cybersecurity vernacular and give you things to talk about when you actually get to the interviewing phase. It will kind of get you in tune with the industry and help you be able to talk about it in a more natural way. So go ahead and listen to the Cyberwire. Don't listen to the back episodes because it's news. So just pick up today's episode and kind of listen to it every day moving forward. And the second podcast I would strongly recommend listening to is Darknet Diaries by Jack Rhysider. The format of this podcast is a nice storytelling theme, and it's really, really well produced, and it's really, really entertaining. And he kind of talks about a lot of different cybersecurity events and stories and different criminals and hackers, and he interviews people from all over the place, and it's super, super interesting. And the point of listening to this again is to kind of open your mind up to what's possible in the world and what people are doing, and it will give you things to talk about in your interview. If somebody, I always get this question which breach do you find the most interesting, or name 3 events that happened in the last year or something like this. This podcast and the Cyberwire will both really help with this as well. And the third kind of thing I would recommend is find some good accounts to follow on Twitter. I might recommend Huntress Labs, to be honest, and maybe the Hacker News or something like this. There's a whole bunch of other ones, but those are the ones that I would recommend. And the kind of point to this is a lot of the times stuff will come out on Twitter really fast, before anything else, before Cyberwire or before someone says anything about it on YouTube. It tends to come out on Twitter really fast. So remember how I said in the beginning, each one of these steps, some of them will have different tiers in them. So I would say for this step, tier 1 would just be picking one of the 3. I would recommend if you just pick any one of those. I might recommend Darknet Diaries because it's the most interesting and you can learn a lot. If you want to be tier 2 to kind of make this step even better, I would do Darknet Diaries and the Cyberwire because they're really easy to digest and you can kind of just passively listen to them. And if you want to be hardcore tier 3 in this step, just do all 3. Pick some nice Twitter accounts to follow Huntress Labs, the Hacker News, listen to Darknet Diaries, and listen to the Cyberwire as well, so you can really get kind of engulfed in the cybersecurity world. So yeah, that is step 1. Get in tune with the industry, and ideally you want to maintain these things at least until you get a job. But ideally after you start working, at least maintain one of these things so you can kind of stay in the loop, if that makes sense. And step 2 of the checklist is to get yourself some basic computing and security knowledge along with some basic programming skill. Getting into cybersecurity is a little bit tough because cybersecurity is kind of a subset of IT, and to really understand a lot of the security concepts, you have to have an okay understanding, foundational understanding of information technology, like especially networks. So in this step, I recommend getting a basic understanding of computing as well as a basic understanding of how to program. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of go about doing this. But what I would personally recommend is not necessarily taking the certificates, but the CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus curriculum itself is like really good. Like if you understand those, like if you understand the topics in these exams, at least it will give you like a really decent foundation for jumping more directly into security. Especially Security Plus, like anyone kind of working in the security field, I would pretty much expect them to know like most of what's on the Security Plus exam. I'll put some resources in the description, so check those out for the CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus curriculum. And for programming languages, I would strongly recommend you learn at least the basics of a programming language if you don't know how to program already. Avoiding programming in IT or security or any tech field in general is you're really doing a disservice to yourself. So I'd recommend like embracing it. Like learn Python at least. Code with Mosh has a really good free Python course on YouTube. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Just go through that course. Make sure you like don't try to memorize everything in it. Of course, it's, you know, that's impossible. Like no one memorizes anything when they're coding, but just go through the course, and then when you're done, try to build a really basic program, like a really basic port scanner or something like this. Like write the code for it, publish it to GitHub, and then, you know, ultimately put that on your resume. And at the end of this list, I'm gonna give like a link. I'm gonna show you what a resume might look like after somebody like goes through and implements this whole list. So this kind of section in the list or framework is gonna have two tiers. Basically, the first tier is you just kind of learn the A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus curriculum, but you don't necessarily take the exam, and then you learn Python. But you must make a simple project with Python to put on your resume and put in your GitHub. And then the second tier would be getting one or more of the certs in conjunction with learning Python and then putting a project on your resume. I would recommend, if you're going to get any of those certs, I would recommend getting Security Plus. There's like no need to really get all of them, to be honest. So tier 1, just learn the curriculum from those 3 exams and then do Python project. Tier 2, learn the curriculum from those 3 exams, get Security Plus, build an app in Python, publish it to your GitHub. Also, on a mention, I made this video on the truth about programming where I kind of talk about programming a little bit, and the whole point of this video is to kind of like bring that intimidation factor down, because a lot of people think programming is like harder than it is, or you need to be like some kind of super genius. Absolutely don't. So if you're one of those people who's like kind of, you know, shying away from programming, or you feel you don't want to do it, just watch this video. It's pretty short. Put it on 2x. It might like, you know, change your career essentially. So I'm just trying to say that you should really embrace programming. You don't have to be like a developer or anything, but you should, you know, try to incorporate that into your skill set. It's really important, and it will really give you an edge over a lot of candidates.